Good.
What have I signed up for?
All right. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Bricks and Mortar Mortgages, buying, selling, renting property. You've got to listen to the Bricks and Mortar podcast. It's like Christmas. I tell you what, it is just like Christmas. 29th of June is when we're all going to start buying, selling, and renting property again. So what better than to get one of my pals on from the estate agency world and talk what's going to happen moving forward. So who I've asked is Lisa Pitchers. We're going to talk about the bounce, how long the bounce is going to last. We're going to talk logistics. How is everybody going to get out to properties and what's going to happen there? And then the future as far as the estate agency is concerned. So listen, you'll see Lisa's there. So Lisa, I'll give you a little bit of a blog on Lisa. She's manager of Retties. She's been doing the estate agency and letting side of things for 25 years. She probably can't believe that either. Yes. 25 years. She started off at Slog, Hog and House, and did 15 years there. She's been the manager of the city centre branch with Retties since 2018. And I've done a bit of snooping. It's amazing what you can find on the internet. So you did a Metro interview, and apparently you wake up to AC/DC's Thunderstruck. You love your yoga, and get this, you've got 52 jumpers.
Yeah, I've still not managed to get rid of any of them. The plan was to do some eBay selling, but I've been working too hard to have the time to organise that. Though, yeah, that was good. That was good. Good fun getting the chance to do that. That was just kind of an idea of a typical day. What was happening? We were all from in the week leading up to lockdown actually happening. The company kind of decamped everybody to home so that we could test out all our tech and all the kit to make sure that everybody was all able to still function with their role, but from their living room or hall or whatever else. So that was us all just kind of prepped and ready, and that became my routine of how my life was. So getting it in the Metro was interesting.
And how did you find that transformation? Because everybody's had to go through that transformation of doing the working at home. Was it pretty seamless?
Well, it was seamless from the technical point of view, just because our company's pretty well geared up for how our IT is. I mean, we've got docking stations, laptops, that kind of thing. So that aspect of things made life so much easier for client contact, for the continuity of customers phoning in, because it was a very testing time for people, not knowing what was going to happen with their sale in the middle of a negotiation for something, etc. So that really helped. And then just from the transition of it, it was kind of like a novelty, and I think everybody was in shock for the first few weeks that this was actually happening, that we were locked in our homes effectively, but quickly got used to it, and then quickly got a bit of cabin fever.
and there's no suggestion, I guess, from the estate agency world that could potentially be a long-term solution. My wife works at the bank, and they're talking about doing a lot more home working. But I guess you need to see the whites of their eyes, so to speak.
Well, on appointments, I mean, as a company, we are dedicated to keeping the home working going from the point of view of social distancing within offices. Some of our offices are really spacious. Certainly the Bath Street office could hold a load of people and you would be miles away from each other. But in smaller offices where you maybe got 8, 10 plus staff and viewing agents coming and going, the idea there is that you will only have a maximum of 3 or 4 people within the branch, and the rest of the team will be working remotely.
All right, okay.
And that's across the full scope. So, as long as you're set up with, the kit to be able to do it, you can log in, everybody's, networked, and, the email recipients and your telephone for transferring calls, etc. It's all very seamless. It can work well, and it means that we're just still adhering to government guidance until it's a little bit more free and easy to just kind of get back to whatever normality we will find in the future.
It is amazing that when you are forced, your hand is forced, and you have to do something, that you adapt so well. And I think that's been the sort of eye-opener to me. Certainly, as far as the networking is concerned, doing the Zoom thing, admittedly, yes, I think that if you've never met the person, you would like to do, you know, a face-to-face. But ultimately, if you know the person and you've met the person before, then why wouldn't you want to do a Zoom? It's going to save you half an hour getting there, save you half an hour getting back. So I
Definitely
certainly
going to
think for
change the
me,
way. Yeah, it's definitely going to change the way business is conducted going forward. Certainly for our company, monthly meetings, etc. For the foreseeable future, we're just having our kind of tactical monthly financial discussions with our, you know, heads of department, etc. Online. We have a team call every morning at 8:45 with the management heads across Betty, and that was started in the weeks leading up to lockdown and has just continued. So it's a great way to kind of interact. I think it was a big novelty for people to begin with, and people started to get a bit sick of it because they were being invited to too many party nights and different things on Zoom. But from a practical point of view for business, it's been great. We use Microsoft Teams more. That's just a system we have for internal communication as well. But it works on the same premise, and you know, it's helped us because we've been able to do you know, quite a high percentage of virtual valuations in the, you know, that people were really engaging with us at the start of May, all through May and into early June, desperate to kind of just get an idea of where's the market, what can you do, how can I get my house prepped for getting ready, and having this format to be able to invite people to make a call with you and just chat to them face to face like you would in their living room. Really has helped. You know, you still have the same level of engagement, and you know, I've had a pretty much 100% sign-up rate from doing virtual valuations for my clients.
Good.
But to be fair, in the city, I mean, as much as 30% of your properties come from people you've never met. They live down south, it's an ex-rental, they live up in Aberdeen, their kids were in it at uni. You sometimes don't do them until key handover day and everything's just done over the phone. So doing it by video calls one step more. So it's certainly been made things easier. They see the whites of your eyes.
So I'll take you back to when you started at Slater Hogg and you did your training there. It must be night and day between all the kit and caboodle that you've got now and how that's made the job easy. Well, you can tell me whether or not it's made the job easier. Over those 25 years, what have you seen as being the sort of the game changers as far as the estate agency is concerned?
I just think companies that are forward thinking and keeping up with tech to enable their teams to do their jobs easily and efficiently. And that's one thing that Retty very much are. We've got a head of IT, Graham Nicholson, who is a great guy and just very forward thinking, thinks everything through. So I know that there's a lot of agencies that maybe are smaller firms that haven't had the finance to do it, or you know, maybe some of the kind of larger companies that didn't have their staff set up in that way, and were reliant on, you know, Citrix systems within their office. And I feel for them, because that must have been difficult to have to step away from all these clients you were trying to care for and not be able to. So one thing I will say, having you know, being with a company like Retty, they are very forward thinking. They want to be at the front of leading the way and making our lives as easy as possible from the level of, you know, we've got Repit, but we've got the highest level of Repit that allows easy import and mobile service and loads of different kind of add-ons that just make your day-to-day running of your database super fast. So it's an eye-opener, and it's a big part of why I wanted to come and work with them, really.
So long gone are the days of the T card. Long
gone are the days of the T card. I mean, personally, I'm pretty much paper-free apart from a notepad. Everything's scanned on, shredded. No paper files anymore, just keep it simple, and that allows you to be remote.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I certainly found in jumping from the law full-time into doing the mortgages. We just don't have any paper at all. Everything is done on a case management system, and yes, we've still got to get the copy documents, your passports, your bank statements, your payslip, etc. But as soon as we get them, they're scanned on and then they're handed back to the client, and that's it. So we don't have any paper files at all. And I tell you, it took some time for me to just go from being, you know, cabinet after filing cabinet after filing cabinet to then becoming, oh my God, what do you mean I don't have a piece of paper? Because I have to have physically or I felt that I had to have something physical to look at. And I just thought, once I ended up getting 2 screens, that was the game changer for me. Because once I got 2 screens, then I felt, for whatever reason, I felt so much more comfortable in dealing without any paper. It's
Yeah,
great.
definitely. I mean, it's in that, you know, I started from scratch in here with nothing, just setting up the city branch out of their Bath Street letting office as a kind of satellite of the West End LLP, effectively, and started with nothing, just with my kit, my tech, my laptop, my headsets, etc., and made a point of not getting a filing cabinet so that I didn't start having swathes of paper and going through that. So I just got gradually used to it and much prefer it. You know, everything is saved online, cloud saved, etc., etc. So yeah, it's just a different way of working. Some people do rely on checklists and ticking things off, but I've got it in here.
So back in your Slater Hogg days, 15 years there, did you have anybody there mentoring you there?
Well, yes. I mean, our senior managers were ultimately the people that were mentoring us. The company was, you know, I think if you look at all of the kind of independent or newer estate agencies, and when I say newer, these are maybe companies within the last 10 or 15 years, they're all, bar very few, ex-Slater Hogg employees that have gone out on their own and opened up. So, I mean, they definitely do have, as do Retty, a really strong focus on staff training and development. So I had worked with them, I started with them when I was 20 as a receptionist effectively, and within 3 years was doing a bit of negotiation. Then I got a job offer to go and work as a valuer for a letting agency, which I thought that's a bit more career advancement, more money, so I left. Then after 3 years I was at a barbecue, and one of my old bosses in Slater Hogg said, look, we're looking for people, what are you thinking, would you come back? So I ended up getting taken back age 26 as a branch manager, and very strongly supported from that, away in a week's training course down south, intensive training course, you know, to just ensure you had the right skills to be, you know, doing all, and then helping you to develop staff, and then monthly meetings, and then it kind of just graduated on. I then went through a regional training course and was involved in kind of regional stuff with the company, and then became an area manager with them. So, and supported throughout, right the way up by my direct managers within the business.
Yeah, certainly if you speak to anybody who's gone through Slater Hogg and House, and the training is always the thing that they hark back to. I know Bruce Pattison very well. He's running one of the quorums down in Ayr.
Yes.
And I think Maitland, was Maitland
Maitland's an ex-Slater Hogg as well, yes.
Slater Hogg
and
as well, yeah.
That's how I, well, the reason I'm sort of with Retty is I met Jamie Osborne, who is the associate partner in the West End, and we used to work, when I first went back to Slater Hogg in my mid-20s, Jamie was my valuer and I was the branch manager in the Candlerigs Merchant City office, where I had originally started at 20. And I had met him at a DM Hall comedy night, and he was asking how I was getting on. And he said, look, you should come and speak to Maitland. You know, we've got some plans for expansion of the business, and, you know, we think you'd be the right person for it. So that's how Retty effectively kind of came about. That meeting happened, and 3 months later I was
So really what you're saying is go to barbecues and comedy nights, and that you'll end up getting a job.
No, I have, I've been genuinely very fortunate. I mean, I've worked for, this is the third company I've worked for, but I have had 5 jobs, if that makes sense. I started off with Slater Hogg, went to a letting agency, left Slater Hogg because the letting agency from Edinburgh had come back to me to say, would you come and manage for us? Did a couple of years with them, and then Retty, and I have no plans. Well, at the moment, no, I've got no plans to go anywhere. I'm really enjoying the challenge of building up the business. We're really getting a good thing in the city, which is really.
So, who's your competition there in the city?
My old buddies in
Countrywide.
Slater Hogg. Yeah, I mean, I worked. That was my city centre, was my branch of Slater Hogg. Well, my main branch, and you know, sort of built that up. And Countrywide. So they're the 2 main competitors, and depending on what postcode you look at on that, we only cover a very small area from the city branch, but we are in either 2nd or 3rd place depending on what postcode. So that was quite a good position to be in within only a couple of years. So quite proud of that.
Brilliant. So listen, let's talk about the bounce. We're all going back to the 29th. Some surveyors have already been back for a couple of weeks, and certainly I have noticed over the last 10 days that there has been of a huge increase in the amount of inquiries that we've been getting as far as mortgages are concerned.
Yeah.
And I think that has, from the estate agents that I was speaking to, they're also talking up what looks to be, as we said earlier, there's a head of steam there. Whether or not it's 3 months worth of work that's coming in the space of 1 month, I guess time will tell. Where do you think, what's your view on the bounce? Because I think there will be a bounce, but it's, I guess, how long the bounce is going to last.
Yeah, I mean, that is going to be difficult to, for anyone to predict. Of course, we would like to. There is definitely wholeheartedly pent up demand. We have been open completely through the lockdown and dealing with customer inquiries for valuation and for sale. And I'm speaking from both my branch, but what's being experienced in the city, which is just such a small slice of what's going on. But, obviously, as I said, we're in talks every morning with, our managing partners of the different offices, and everybody's of the same opinion. The number of inquiries for properties to launch, properties that we had ready to launch just before going into lockdown, and people saying, well, I'll hold off and see. So there's been properties we've been able to release onto the market and be starting to field inquiries with busiest week ahead of viewings, starting from the 29th, whilst we've been providing people with as much kind of video footage, and on vacant properties been able to do video walkthroughs. People still want to physically go in and get a feel for a property. So whilst you might eradicate some of the numbers from showing, more rather than the glossy video that you would get to showcase a property, actually going in warts and all, and with a camera and going down the walls and looking around the place very fully. So that has triaged a degree of viewings, but even with that, it's just going to be, the word manic keeps being banded around in emails at the moment amongst the team. So yes, there's a bounce. Difficult to completely compare the numbers, because what's really happening just now is probably 2 months rather than 3 or 4 months worth of business, all kind of condensed in. But I genuinely think there are people that will be, who have been shielding, etc., that will be a little bit more reticent, and as they start to see things moving, will probably be coming to us into July time. So we're still going to see a good number of people wanting to.
And I guess very much it depends as to the type of stock that you are selling. A couple of weeks back, I was talking to Bruce Patterson at Coram, and the kind of stock that he's got is very much detached properties, semi-detached properties, and has got quite an elder. I mean, he deals out of Ayr and Troon, so he's got quite an elderly clientele, and some of which will no doubt be shielding. And what his thought was that he felt that it might even morph into a sort of Australian type, where he gets the trestle table outside the house, he's got the hand sanitizer and the gloves. The clients, i.e. the owners, they go off for the day, and Bruce just has them stacked up for viewings every sort of 10-15 minutes. I've not spoken to him since.
Yeah, viewings certainly are, being staggered. We used to operate on very busy properties, a kind of block viewing where you would have 4 people booked in as a maximum over a 45-minute period, so that you can maximise between 9:45 in the morning and 7 at night the best number of viewings. But we have to obviously change that. We can't have, firstly, too many people going into one property in one day, and people quite often tend to come along with a family member or a partner, so we've requested that that's kept at a minimum. It's the buyers only, not additional people, and giving people a 15-minute slot to view, and only having sort of 3 or 4 people back to back within a property, and then moving on to the next. So the kind of way that that's all being managed is going to make things will take longer, because obviously if you can get 4 people into a property every day for a week, you've got a closing date the following week. If you can only get to a property once or twice a week and you've only got 4 people going in, that's just going to take a little bit longer for things to move. But people are noting interest before they've even viewed properties that they're interested in at the moment. So we're getting a lot of that, because they want to just stake their claim, really. Please keep in touch with me, because I can't get to view until next Thursday, but I don't want it to close without me getting an opportunity on it. So there's quite a bit of that. So I don't know that it would be sort of fair to have the Australian auctions situation, because you've got to be respectful of we cover, obviously we've got branches that are selling in residential areas, homes, so you could have a few people standing in a driveway, but a lot of our business is also flats and conversions in the city, in the West End, so you have to be respectful of the neighbours as well, and not have crowds of people like up outside properties. So it just kind of tentatively, stepping into the new normal of viewing arrangements.
I mean, my view on the bounce, I think, is that it will be driven, as all markets are, by sentiment, by the public sentiment. And I think that as long as there's not bad news stories coming out on social media, the press, and the TV about redundancies here, companies closing there, then I think the bounce will be a long bounce. Whereas I think the concern, and I'm speaking to Richard Pirrett there just today, and his view is, yes, he thinks we're probably going to get 2 or 3 months out of it, but once the clocks go back, again, if the redundancies start kicking in and the people start coming off furlough, then that's going to be a problem. And people are probably going to think, you know what, do I really want to risk buying a property? I don't think it's going to prevent the first-time buyers. I think if there is going to be anything that prevents the first-time buyers, it's going to be lack of funding, because it's nigh on impossible to get a 95% loan. People are going to have to rely upon the first home fund, but then how long is that first home fund going to be available, given the perilous nature of the economy? So I'm just hoping that it lasts for as long as possible.
Definitely. I mean, I think there's desire at the moment, because the market was in a strong place from the start of the year, having had gone through the election, and things were busying up. There has been for a good number of years a shortage, effectively, of property in the popular areas, and if you have the majority of property either selling very quickly at a crazy price over home report to secure it, or going to closing date with anywhere between 6, 12 plus offers, that's a property shortage. And so if even only a third of these people are still looking to move, you're still getting a closing date, you've still got an opportunity of getting a good price for your property to sell. And if the stock levels are less because people are reticent to move, there's still all these buyers wanting to buy and secure something. And I think when people are looking at the long term, nobody wants to overpay and then be in the position that we were in 2008, where people that had been bidding in 2006 and 7 all of a sudden were kind of straight into negative equity. But that can happen at any point during your ownership of a home. So there are less and less people, of course, there's developers that are looking to buy and flip, and that's a different section of the market. Investors are looking to rent, and as long as the figures tally up for their potential rental, then it's a viable thing to do. And a lot of people are looking at their next 10, 12, 15-year home. So if they overpay slightly now to get in the good school catchment area, in 5 years' time when they're looking to remortgage, they can maybe, worry about that then, rather than, And they always say that there's sort of 3 reasons for selling: death, divorce, and debt. So there's going to be a whole ream of that with property and circumstance coming to the marketplace to deal with.
I wonder how much pressure the surveyors are going to be put under in order to because they will be, to a certain extent, the ones that drive the prices. And if they start saying, well, yes, I know that prior to lockdown that was worth 200,000, but I think it's only now worth 175. Now, I don't know on what basis that they can make that judgment, but it may well be that if the lenders are starting to get a little bit antsy about having to lend at 90% and 95%, they may be saying, well, listen, hold on here. You might find that what the lenders will want is, rather than relying upon a home report, they might actually want to get their own independent surveyor done, just to make sure that the home report is in fact.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's happens already with buy-to-let funding. So there is a reasonable chance that will be, and that's the bank's decision to do that. The surveyors that we are speaking with in the larger firms in Glasgow, Shepherd's Ally, DM Hall, are all, confident that the values that they're putting on anything that they're going out to look at just now are kind of pre-COVID prices, because there's no evidence otherwise. And with respect to surveyors, ultimately you can say they get it wrong, because every time we sell something, it sells, generally speaking, higher. In the areas that Betty operate in, I don't know what other pockets of Glasgow that we're not handling property and to know the kind of premiums. But certainly in the Bearsden, West End, City, Newton Mern, Shawlands, the majority of property is achieving a 3 to 10% premium above home report. So maybe going forward, people's reticence to overpay will mean that the type of offers we're getting at a closing date, if there's 2 or 3 people bidding, are going to be much closer to the home report. And we feed that information back to the surveyors. We let them know what kind of prices we've been achieving, and that will give them, in some respects, confidence that the pricing is still, in line.
Yeah.
But there was something.
There's been many a time where we have got a client who has paid, say, 15, 20 grand over the home report value. We've then gone back to the surveyor and we've said, well, listen, clearly you must have got the valuation wrong because there were 5 people interested in this. You valued the property at 200,000. We've paid 230,000 pounds. And the surveyor, without the blink of an eye, says, oh, you're probably right there. We'll just put the valuation up at 230,000 pounds. So it means then that you're getting a stretch as far as your deposit is concerned. Now, there's not everybody that does that. There's only a couple of lenders. And in fact, I remember, I think it was maybe Santander who had said, listen, that's what you should do. Well, it's in line with the market, but I guess banks are going to want to protect themselves, hence them having the, very limited funding at your 90 and 95%. They're wanting to have a lesser stake to compensate for any potential fall. But it's hard to forecast that. I mean, we're agents, are by nature positive. Realistic but positive, and so it's hard to foresee that there's not going to be some kind of market, and if there is a drop in the premiums that people are getting above home report, then that's just something that's going to be across the board. And so if you're buying and selling in the same market, you're going to be making the same savings. Therefore there is a market, so that people will still be able to move. Absolutely. And as far as the logistics are concerned, what is the legislative requirements for you to say to your clients, the sellers, to say, well, listen, you need to have the sanitizer, are you under an obligation to say that to them? Or do you have to give them sanitizer, gloves? How does that work? No, so in advance of appointments, we have a Betty company protocol, which is in line with government guidance. So most people are kind of asking, do I need to wear a mask, etc. And so that will be down to individual homeowners if they're doing their own viewings as to whether they want to wear a mask. Betty staff, will carry masks. We'll have our own hand sanitizer. The whole idea is that when we're conducting viewings, there would only be one person with the viewing agent socially distanced within the property. And when we're conducting physical valuations, we go into the property, ask the owner if we can just have a look around ourselves and either stand outside and talk about it or phone them after the appointment, so that there's a minimum time spent in a property face to face. So if we continue with this horrible weather, that's not going to be ideal, standing outside with an umbrella, but that's when this kind of video call comes into its own. Often, the organisation for getting photographs and things done is going to be that, the owners will provide a set of keys, let the photographer go into the property, and the owner can wait in their car or go back to work, etc. So it's just working slightly differently. I mean, we used to go into a property to sign it up, and we would have, myself, the surveyor, our photographer, and we'd all be working around each other. I'd be getting measurements for the floor plan, the photographer would be in one room, and that way there was minimum imposition to the owner who'd taken the morning off work. We just blasted it all and got the property ready within 48 hours. Now it's, every other day, and it's going to just take slightly longer, that lead-in time for preparation for the market. But we've got clear guidance and protocols that are on our website. You only have to go onto the website and click on the big pink COVID announcement to get the full breakdown. But as I say, we're just emailing everybody with every appointment made to notify them. And masks are not obligatory yet unless you're on public transport. So it's going to be down to individuals to be comfortable. If they want to wear one and they would prefer that we do when we're with them, we will do. Yeah, I think just everybody's got to be sensible, haven't they? Yeah, definitely. Just we just need to kind of crack on, but with care and be sensible. Exactly. And then, what about the future then? Where can you see? I mean, the talk that was that very much that Purple Bricks were on their way out, and their share price was sliding every time you looked at it. Online bricks and mortar, can you see a
I think a bricks and mortar agency with a good online presence and having the technology to deal with everything that gets thrown at you in the marketplace is the way forward. People do still, need to come in and hand keys when we're allowed to meet people face to face. That's an important part of the kind of customer journey. It's been quite horrible having to leave sets of keys with a wee note on the back of your business card squeezed into a key box for people to put a code in and collect on the date of entry, rather than a handshake and a gift bag and a good luck and all of that. So, I think if you only have to look at, for example, how busy Byres Road has been as a street, and people wanting to go into shops and be milling around and, and see things, I think having that physical presence is still a really important thing for an agent in a city, for the assurance for their customers that, we're here and there's somebody that, even if you don't get to speak to the person you want to, when we go back to normal business, you buzz the door and you've got somebody there that can answer and listen to your... Well,
there's a couple of things there. Well, there's Walker Wiley, who are about to open up on Woodlands Road. They started off as a purely online estate agency. I think if you spoke to both of them, they probably thought, you know what, no, we're just going to go online. We're going to go online. And then suddenly they've got some premises out there. From my point of view, having been started off in the basement where nobody knew who we were, and the only presence that we had was on social media, to buy somewhere out on Crow Road, on one of the busiest thoroughfares, certainly in Glasgow, with thousands of cars coming up and down. I've been astounded by now the amount of people who are now phoning us, because I always say, every time a car goes past, I said to Catherine, my admin, that's a mortgage. We just need to try and get them in when they need a mortgage. And what's happening now is that when they're because we don't even have the telephone number, so it means that they've got to do a little bit of background work to find out how to get in contact with us, which is I think that stickiness about the marketing is quite good, and that they've made some sort of effort to try and find out, so they must be half interested in coming on board. But it's amazing, one a week, maybe two a week, we're getting people coming in, and it's been the best, as I say, because I ended up buying the premises with the pension, so I'm paying rent to myself, so that's great, that's a win-win. And then all these people phoning me up saying, we want a mortgage, and I said, well, listen, I've just bought a very expensive billboard. That's all we've bought.
Well, that's it. I was going to say, that's exactly what it is, a big advertising board, and having that local presence. I mean, in an estate agency, it's all about the boards, and it's all about your board presence in the area that you work in. You want to be visible, you want your brand to be out there. I mean, that's something that's quite difficult to do in the city, because you get whipped away in a week from for the bin men, because they're not really supposed to have them on lamp posts.
Or by your competitors.
We do keep trying. We do keep trying just to get that visibility in and around the city. So yeah, I think a physical presence is important, but I think I don't even think that estate agents have necessarily learned anything from online agents. Anybody who's wanted to progress their business has just developed as online offerings have developed, and you've either got on the bandwagon by doing as much as you can with your kind of online presence, getting Matterport 3D tours, HD videos, etc. And then actually having the person you want to speak to, you can get their direct dial and talk to them, rather than have to phone an 08 something number and press 1 for this, 2 for that, 3. People don't like that. Companies maybe like it, bigger companies, because it saves them a few quid for the shareholders, but individuals phoning up just want to chat to somebody, and even if it's not personally.
But it's not just that they want to chat to somebody, they want to chat to Lisa Pictures, they want to chat to Maitland, they want to chat to Chris Breckenridge, Bruce Patterson. So here's a question to you. America and the estate agency side is absolutely dominated by individuals and not necessarily by companies. Yes, they've got companies, but these companies are dealing with the back office systems, the likes of Keller Williams, etc. Can you see that being... It's never really been something that, I don't know whether it's not been tried or whether nobody's made a success of it, but you just need to walk down Byres Road and it's Retty's, but Maitland Walker is on the header there. So people are going to Retty's in Byres Road probably because it's Maitland Walker, not because it's Retty's, and probably with you as well.
Well, to a degree, I mean, the person is the brand. I mean, when we opened up the city office, there was sort of digital billboard advertisements of my face that I'd joined Retty. I can't remember the tagline, it was quite quirky. And the point of that was just to get that out, because I was to a degree known within the estate agency world to my customers, and I've off the back of that managed to get a lot of people who bought from me 10 years ago looking me up online, calling me, so it is about that. It's a personal brand thing, but I think it's very important to have, whatever that is, the backing of the brand of your company and everything that offers a customer, rather than just, because a lot of people have gone out on their own to your Yoppas and the different, and I think customer service individuals are giving will be great. I'm not meaning to slate that in any way, but I think people would just prefer to have a brand that's got an office that you feel a wee bit kind of safer with than what's happened to people.
And I think I agree, and I think the market has stood the test of time as far as that's concerned. Whether it be a Retty's, a Clyde, a Slater Hogg, they've all been, your Gary Thompson's there at Clyde. It's Gary Thompson, but it's still Clyde. And the fact that nobody has really been able to stand out there and say, I'm Joe X, rather than Joe X with somebody behind them, I think probably says that I just don't know whether or not that will work over here.
Well, it's just, different personalities. It took us a long time to want to have our photographs on the back of targeted flyers, and then before you know it, we're recording videos for our website or for Bricks and Mortar podcast or for our own advertisement on LinkedIn. So we're just developing and moving and getting more comfortable with the different forms of media that we feel we're going to reach our customers with.
And whenever
by our marketing department.
And whenever we started, we were always absolutely rubbish at it. But what you've got to understand and believe is that the more you do it, the better you will become. There's just no doubt about it. And you get over that fear factor. Yeah,
for sure. I don't know if you saw Curtis and Ian Story. You've got Rudimental Block. They've got a great agency in Bearsden, and not Bearsden, sorry, Bridge of Weir and Paisley. They do videos, and just at the middle of the lockdown, they released a video of all their bloopers, and absolutely hilarious. So they do a talk outside each of the houses that they launch, and they've got a really good following on Cochrane Dickey, and so very funny to see, and just the many takes that it takes until you get the words right. Listen, we're estate agents and we're natural talking to people face to face, but when you put a camera in front and you have to do a bit of a monologue, it's a slightly different story.
Yes, absolutely. Listen, I've got some quick questions, quick fire questions to ask, and then I'll walk you to the exit. So it's very much an either or. You don't really need to think too much about it. Car or bike?
Both.
Good. Trendy face mask or plain?
Plain.
Online supermarket or standing queue?
Neither. The city supermarkets don't have queues, and I like to choose.
Self-service or pack my bags, please?
I like to interact with somebody and have a conversation if that's behind a screen. So
And Zoom or face-to-face?
Face-to-face.
Home worker in the office?
Both.
Estate agent or letting agent?
Estate agent.
Good.
Definitely. I've been to the dark side and come back to estate agency again. It's a cleaner transaction.
Yes, absolutely. Well, listen, this has been absolutely fantastic. I've really enjoyed our chat. What we normally ask our clients to do is, you can do the outro. So I do an intro, and then you can do an outro. So all you need to say is buying, selling, renting property. I always listen to Bricks and Mortar Mortgages, Bricks and Mortar podcast.
So buying, selling, renting property. I always listen to Bricks and Mortar podcast.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Wonderful.